Hello and welcome to the Ethanol Producer Magazine podcast. I am your guest host, Anna Simet, and we are live at the International Fuel Ethanol Workshop in Omaha. And my guest on this episode is Matthew Helle from Helle Engineering. Matthew, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Why don't we start today having you tell our listeners a little bit about Helle Engineering?
Sure. Helle Engineering, we're based out of League City, Texas. We're an automation and controls company. We develop common user interfaces and do system integration between different systems.
Okay. So, Matthew, what are some major issues biofuels producers face in regard to automation and controls?
Good question. Two major issues that I could think of is going to be data loss. A lot of our biofuels customers have a common problem where they can't actually prove that they're producing or destroying methane, so they can't get paid. And it's basically like their historian gets damaged, lost, goes down. And what we do to solve those issues is we put in micro historians, and they simultaneously collect data along with the bigger historian, but we're able to extract that data independently and store it independently, particularly flow meter data, so they know how many decatherms that they're destroying or putting into a particular pipeline. Without that data, they can't get paid.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Another issue is dirty power. So customers that are usually out in these farms, remote areas, they don't have consistent power sources, and we typically will put in a small UPS system to keep the control system actually running and power the transmitters, so we can still control the process and also record the data that's going out to a particular flare.
Okay. Interesting. So, Matthew, if you could change something in the biofuel industry, what would be the first thing?
I would say that the biofuels industry needs to be a little bit more regulated as far as standards are concerned. Mm-hmm. Particularly in refining and chemicals, we're adhering to ISA standards, and that's for developing and maintaining the plant systems. Mm-hmm. We're seeing that the biofuels companies are really not as regulated as the bigger companies, manufacturers.
Okay. So, how can biofuel producers with many sites increase their profitability through automation?
That's typically done through a common user interface. So when producers are building their plants, they may buy vendor skids that may come with a heater, a compressor, a flare system, and they'll all come with a different controller, a different PLC. Mm-hmm. Okay, and they'll all have a different HMI. They will all have developed different alarms, standards, different colors, and things like that. What we do is we'll bring it all together to that common user interface, and then distribute that out through all of the sites. Mm-hmm. So if a plant operator is going to one site, he needs to go to another site. It all looks the same. It's uniform. Right. They have the same alarm philosophies, and they don't have to guess, what a critical alarm is versus a low alarm.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
So where do you think automation's heading in the future?
Oh, it's expanding.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good future for automation companies. Everything is being automated to remove the human error, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So as long as they can keep the process running without human error, they're going to be more reliable and more profitable.
Mm-hmm. So how can producers protect their control systems?
Very good question. What we're seeing is isolating the control network. That's number one.
Okay.
And number two is invest in cybersecurity software.
Interesting.
So a lot of our customers, what we do is we're installing Cronus Cyber Protect. So not only does it protect from malware, but we're also doing backups with it. Because if you can't recover your control system, you won't be running, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Is that an issue you see often, biofuel plants and malware?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because because they're in remote areas, they need remote access, so vendors can help them remotely,
Yeah.
right? Because there's not a automation company in the middle of a farm, so
Yeah.
they need help remotely a lot, and those are usually gateways into their control system, and that's how they're getting infected.
Such is the world we live in now, right?
That's right.
So what's been keeping Helle busy lately?
We're doing a lot of work up in Minnesota, Indiana, at a lot of biofuels plants out there. And then we have a big LNG project over in Hopkinton, Maine.
Oh, interesting. All over the place.
Yes, ma'am.
What's about the size of your company?
Right now we're at 6 employees,
Oh, okay.
so we stay pretty busy.
Yeah, I bet. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to add before we wrap things up?
No, I think it's about it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I really enjoyed you coming on the podcast and telling everybody a little bit more about Helle Engineering.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Absolutely. And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this podcast. Until next time.